They laughed at her before she stepped on the mat. They didn't know she'd been training for this moment her whole life. The class was in full swing. Pairs sparring on the mat, pads smacking, short shouts marking every strike. The usual noise of training. Then the side door opened. A small figure stepped in. She paused at the edge of the mat. 10 years old, maybe less. Her GI pants were oversized, hanging low on her hips. The belt around her waist was tied loose, almost falling off. She held it with both hands, like she was afraid it would slip away. She didn't speak, didn't move further, just stood there, heads turned, first out of curiosity, then with that half-smile people get when they think they already know the ending of a story. From the center of the mat, Coach Mark noticed her. Black belt, mid-40s, confident in a way that left no space for doubt or humility. He turned fully toward her, pointed. Well, what do we have here? His voice carried across the room. The girl stayed silent. Mark smirked. Looks like we've got ourselves a new martial arts master. The room laughed. Not the warm kind. The kind that presses on you, waiting for you to break. Mark took a step forward. Come on, princess. Let's see what you've got. The girl finally looked up, her eyes steady. Are you sure you want me to? Some students chuckled. One near the back pulled out his phone and hit record. Mark grinned wider. Oh, I'm sure. In the far corner, an old man sat watching. White hair, straight posture despite the cane resting against his knee. His gaze fixed on the girl's feet. Her hands, her balance. He leaned forward slightly, murmured under his breath. That stance, I've seen it before. Coach Mark tilted his head, still grinning, the way a cat might grin at a mouse. Well, he said, don't just stand there. The girl's hands loosened on her belt. She stepped forward, slow measured. Her bare feet touched the mat. One step, then another. The sound in the room shifted. Not quieter, just waiting. She stopped in front of Coach Mark, small enough that his shadow fell over her. You want me to go first? She asked. Mark laughed. I want you to do your best, princess. A few students exchanged looks. One whispered, this is going to be over in 10 seconds. Another kept filming, phone steady in his hands. The old man in the corner didn't look away. His eyes were locked on her posture, her weight placement. The way her shoulders weren't tense, they were relaxed. He leaned toward the student sitting next to him. Do you see that? The student blinked. See what? But the old man didn't answer. He was too busy watching her feet, her slight shift to the left, her center lowering just enough to signal readiness, to someone who knew what to look for. Mark cracked his knuckles. All right then, show me. The girl took a deep breath. Her eyes never left his. And in that moment, something changed. The hesitant child wasn't there anymore. She wasn't born with fear. She was trained without it. The way she moved, it wasn't random. It wasn't the way beginners move. The old man's eyes narrowed further. That slight tilt of her lead foot, the alignment of her hips. It was textbook. And then the scene in his mind shifted. A dusty training yard. Sun beating down. Not a gym, a military camp. A younger version of the same girl. Hair shorter, face sharper from the grind of discipline. In front of her, a man in combat fatigues barked orders. Not just any man. A military instructor. Her father. Krav Maga. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Muay Thai. You learn them all, he told her. You don't speak in a fight. You act. Let silence be your strength. The girl, no older than 7, obeyed without hesitation. Striking pads. Drilling throws. Sweat pouring down her face. No complaints. No questions. Back in the present, the old man blinked, forcing the memory away. "That's not a beginner," he muttered. "That's a soldier's child." Coach Mark dropped into his stance, still thinking this would be a joke. Mark thought he was in control. He was already wrong. He bounced lightly on his feet. "Guard up." Smirk still in place. "All right, Cupcake," he said. "Show me something." The girl inhaled slowly. Her shoulders loosened. Her chin lowered. The air between them changed. No one could explain why, but they felt it. The laughter in the room faded. Not because anyone told them to be quiet, because something in their gut told them, "Pay attention." Mark jabbed toward her face. She didn't even flinch. Another jab. Same stillness. He laughed. "You're frozen, kid. This isn't gonna." She moved. Nobody saw the start, only the finish. Her lead foot slid forward. Her hips turned, and in one smooth motion, she swept his legs. Mark's body hit the mat harder than he expected. He tried to push himself up, but she was already there. A feint to the left. A sharp, precise strike to his chest. The air left his lungs in a short, shocked gasp. Around them, the students froze. Phones lowered slightly. Mark stumbled back, struggling to breathe. His smirk was gone. She stepped toward him again, and this time, her hands were up. The fight should have been over, but she wasn't done yet. Mark took a shaky step back. But before he could reset his guard, she moved again. A quick sidestep. Her arm slipped under his, and in a blink, she was behind him. She locked her arm around his neck. Her legs hooked into his waist. A perfect rear naked choke. Mark's hands clawed at her grip. His face reddened. His body jerked once, twice, then tapped hard against her arm. She released him instantly. Mark collapsed to his knees, gasping for air. The gym was silent. A student whispered, "She just tapped a black belt." Another whispered back, "That was fast." In the corner, the old man rose to his feet. She wasn't just skilled, she was proven. The girl untied her belt, slipped off the top layer of her GI. Underneath, a patch was stitched to her shirt. Gold Star, International Youth Combat Champion. She knelt by her bag, unzipped it. A small plaque slid halfway into view. World Combat Federation, Under 12 Champion, 3-time winner. Gasps spread through the crowd. Phones that had been filming lowered. Mark was still catching his breath. His voice came out quieter than anyone had heard before. "Why didn't you tell anyone?" She looked at him and said, "You never asked." Her calm was louder than any victory cheer. The old man stepped forward. Slow, deliberate steps. Eyes fixed on her. He stopped just in front of her. Studied her stance again. Finally spoke. "Israeli discipline. Military precision." She nodded once. "My father was my teacher." The old man's jaw tightened. "I knew him," he said. Then softer. He raised a fighter. Mark, still kneeling, lowered his head. The students were dead silent. A single pair of hands began to clap. The room that mocked her now stood for her. The single clap echoed in the quiet. Then another joined it. And another. Within seconds, the sound grew into a wave. Students were on their feet, applauding. Even those who had smirked earlier now clapped with open palms, their eyes following the small girl who had just rewritten their idea of strength. Coach Mark stood slowly. His ribs still ached, his pride even more so. But he walked toward her, stopped, bowed deeply. "You didn't just school me," he said. "You taught this room something far bigger than technique." She gave a small nod. No smile. No gloating. She turned and began walking toward the exit. She left without fanfare, but not without impact. The gym was still clapping as she reached the door. Her hand touched the handle. She paused, looked over her shoulder one last time. Every eye was still on her. But this time, there was no ridicule, only respect. Her voice was quiet. I didn't come to show off. I came to learn. She stepped outside. The door closed behind her. The sound of the applause lingered in the air. The old man stood in the middle of the mat, his eyes on the door. They laughed before they knew her truth. He said to no one in particular, "But real strength doesn't need to shout." Coach Mark kept staring at the door, as if still processing what had just happened.